All right, I'm pleased to be joined. My next guest is three-time major champion Padraig Harrington. He's also got a YouTube channel, which I'm sure if you follow, you'll see Paddy's golf tips on YouTube. And Paddy, what's going on? How's your November treating you?
Well, it's pretty good here. I'm on my holidays. That's a rarity. So I'm taking it a little easy, still hitting a few shots, obviously, just to get my fix every day, but mainly just sitting on the beach.
Yeah. Well, you had an interesting prediction, Nostradamus almost, the week of Bernhard Langer's win. You kind of called it. You said, hey, he's the guy that you want to be afraid of making a 30-footer on the last hole. And what did he do? He ended up trading a
Yeah,
25, 30-footer to finish. Any surprise?
no, not for me. He's the guy coming down the stretch. If he can get himself in contention, which he obviously does a lot, he's definitely the guy that can do things that you worry about coming down the stretch. Ernie's a bit like that too. Ernie'd be a better player late on Sunday afternoon if he was in contention than he is if he's not in contention. So there's few guys on the Champions Tour. It's kind of for us all like that in the Champions Tour. When we get there, we kind of remember our past and we can do it. But sometimes getting ourselves in that position can be hard. Now with Bernard, nobody works as hard as him. Even out in the Champions Tour, he still works harder than anybody else. He really puts it in, and as I said, he's the guy to hold the putts.
When you say nobody works harder than him, so you're seeing him behind the scenes, the training, all the regimens he's doing, like kind of describe that for a minute.
I'm only seeing him at tournaments, but he puts in a full week. So we don't have to be there until Thursday because it's a Friday start. But I'm there early because I might travel from event to event. He's there often on a Tuesday, putting in the work. He's played the golf course before, and he's still working Tuesday, Wednesday, Pro-Am Thursday, and he never leaves the course before close of that physio at 6 o'clock in the evening. He really, really, he put anybody to shame with his work ethic. It's quite impressive. And he's still doing the gym work. He's recouping, but it's serious effort. At a tournament, I don't know what it's like outside tournaments, but certainly at tournaments, he puts it in.
Yeah. Well, I remember you used to sometimes at major championships in your prime, you would get there the week before. And sometimes you said, "Oh my gosh, this is hopeless because I'm spending way too much time. It's different wind conditions." Like,
Yeah.
give us the best example of that where in your career you went to a major venue and it was like, "Oh my gosh, I totally overdid it."
Yeah, I can't tell you which one, but early on in my career, I would turn up and maybe go the week before. But the golf course is never the same. When we get to a tournament golf course, the fairways get faster during the week of the tournament. So I played, remember, I would have been playing my majors like early 2000s when they started making the golf courses really long, tiger proof with the heavy rough. And we turn up and there'd
Right.
be a 510-yard par four, which back in the day was unusual. And like in practice, if you turned up and played that the week before, you would hit driver, hybrid, driver, wood to it. In the tournament, one of the days you'd hit driver 9-iron. And I'm going, well, what use is it turning up the week? Now, it's good to know, of course, in terms of, around the greens and things, but even the greens are always slow the week before, because they're protecting them for the tournament. So I think if you want to learn a golf course, the best way is to play it in competition. So ultimately, if you know a big tournament is coming up on a certain course, you're better off going and playing the regular event that hopefully is there a year previous or 2 years previous, or you're better off turning up 6 months in advance, when the members are close to their members' guest or something like that, just to get the golf course where it's at its toughest.
Right. Well, you're talking about training and learning golf courses for the Joe Blow golfer at home, the weekend golfer at home. You speak to them all the time on your Paddy's Golf Tips YouTube channel. What is kind of the inspiration behind that? Like, what kind of drives you to do those videos?
Pro-ams. I play a lot of pro-ams, and I love coaching the guys that play in the pro-am. I love looking at them and wondering why some of them are as good as they are and why some of them are underachieving. And I'm basically every person who comes within, if you make eye contact with me, you're getting a lesson. That's just the way I am. But interesting when we were just talking about strategy. Strategy is the one thing, I can put that up on my Paddy's Golf Tips. It's not popular. It just doesn't get views. People, and it's probably the thing that would, like for the least effort, would lower your handicap the most or make you a better player. Strategy is kind of what it's all about. Once you get okay at the game, it's all about knowing what's the right shot to take, how much to take on a particular hole. I still see it. I could see it in the sometimes when I'm watching the commentary. you could have a really, really short-sided chip shot. But if you know that if you short side yourself a second time, that you actually will get up and down, that's, it means you can go for it. Whereas if you short side yourself from the short side, the ball is going to come back to your feet. Now you're under pressure because you can't, you ended up taking double bogey, triple bogey. So just by being able to read the situation determines how aggressive you can be. And often, I see that oftentimes and go, actually, that's not a tough shot because the miss is going to work out okay. So there's lots of things like, look, strategy, it's such a complicated issue. And even us talking about it now, it's hard to explain it. And it's better if it's intuitive. But I will say probably the biggest difference to professional golf over the last number of years has been the data scientists coming in and telling the ball strikers who aren't necessarily great players how to handle the golf course and where to be aggressive and where not to be.
Right. Well, you just mentioned strategy there, and I know that we've talked in the past about next year, what are your plans for next year, and you're thinking that you want players to be able to coach themselves. Weekend golfers, coach yourself, be able to kind of play the mental game, right?
Well, I don't know if actually, as I said, it's not really the mental game because the mental game just. I love the mental game, and I talk a lot about it to individuals. I do a lot of, I get a lot of players coming to me where I'd be all mental with them. But the weekend warrior is really interested in hitting the golf ball better. So I'm probably thinking my next strategy on YouTube is trying to give lessons that will help people teach themselves. So if you see this is what you need to do. If your divot looks like this is what you're likely doing, and this is what you needed to do. So like for example, with divots, this is for me, this is interesting. So I was brought up with the phrase thin to win. Now, I really struggle to pronounce that TH, thin to win, okay? So when I was playing the game, you always wanted to hit the ball thin, low on the face, rather than fat, because that would end up landing in front of the green and running up. That is the worst thing you can do with a golf ball now. You're better off hitting it fat. So if you're going over water, and, if I'm hitting it 220 carry over water, 230 to the flag, and say I'm hitting my 4-iron, if I thin that, I'm in the water. If I fat it, it will take spin off. Now, I'm not taking a big fat, I'm talking a little fat. It will actually work out just fine. So the modern golf ball equipment suits a slightly heavy shot compared to the one shot you never want to hit is that thin miss hit now. Whereas when I grew up, the thin was quite a good shot.
Yeah, like you said, you got to thin it to win it, and that's you can pull it off that way.
Yeah, not anymore.
Right. Well, it's interesting. What's the overall strategy? Like you've got, let's see, 175,000 followers there on your YouTube channel. Like, what is the overall strategy for growing your Paddy's golf tips?
Yeah, it's interesting. My caddy sat me down because I was thinking, oh yeah, should I do this? And he just looked at me and says, you're not going to change. And I said, well, what do you mean? He says, well, if you want to grow your YouTube channel, you're going to have to do what Bryson does. You're actually going to have to go out there on your weeks off and spend time with celebrities, with different golf courses, like Bryson's, that break 50 is a great challenge. His current one of trying to make out. I have to go out of my way. Whereas, as he said to me, he says, you still think you're a player. You still like playing. And that's really what I really love playing. So I'm not going to give up that time. And I'm not going to become a YouTuber. I just can't, I will not spend 30 days of the year doing that. I'm happy to do my individual lessons, do these things that I can post because that's on my time. I can do it when I want to. I can manage it. I'm in control of it. But to take the next step it'd be too much. I'd have to retire. And like golf, I don't look like I'm retiring from playing golf at the moment. So it's one of those things. I think I'm not going to go to the next level like Bryson has done, but I'm going to continue on with the stuff I like doing the YouTube.
So my understanding, Padraig, is are you only doing 2 to 5 days where you actually shoot content? Like how many total days are you shooting content out there?
Well, it's bigger than that because it's not the content, it's the preparation. So every day I'm working on the preparation. So I actually now have found a great new resource called the Champions Tour. So all those players have a little tip, and that will be down the road. That will be another idea is to go to those players. So like Rodney Pampling the other week just said, if you're aiming, let me get this right. if you're aiming left, if you walk in addressing the ball, holding the club in your left hand, it will help you get your left shoulder out in front. While if you're aiming right, if you go in with your right hand, it will help you open up your shoulders. So that's like, I'll explain it better on a tip, but all the players have little nuggets of knowledge. So I spend the whole year gathering. I'm plagiarizing, if you want to say. I'm looking everywhere to find these tips. So yeah, it's the year of preparation, and I probably do 2 big days and then a number of little days in terms of the video production.
Yeah, yeah, because I saw you on the Champions Tour video there, stepping into the swing, like during a practice round. They're kind of
Yeah,
filming you do some of those
yeah,
things, right?
that's more Champions Tour stuff, and those little ones are going to be done. I prefer to do it nearly that way, and there is maybe a model going forward where I just go back to 2 minute videos on Twitter and YouTube, Twitter and Instagram like I used to do in COVID. So because that would be easier. Just filmed on my iPhone. Here you go. If you like it or you don't. So it is, the question always with these things is, how much do you want to commit? How much production do you want to put into it? To get to the next level, are you prepared to go the extra way? And right now with my golf, I'm not prepared to turn around. And I said, Bryson is just phenomenal content out there. But the time he's putting into that, it's incredible to, he's got to be flying around the country to do some of these matches. It's not easy to do that.
No, no, you got to find that time. Oh, he also doesn't have kids too. That's the thing. I talked with Paul Casey at a live event, and he's like, Bryson able to pull all this stuff off, but he doesn't understand what it's like once you have kids because he doesn't have any.
Yeah, he clearly, as you said, he's a young man. He's playing a limited schedule compared to, what we would have played back in the day. Even then, I've got to an age. My kids are pretty old now at this stage, are a lot more self-sufficient. So I do have time, but as I said, my time is put into playing. I still, like, I'm playing 30 events a year. I'm sure if I don't know what Bryson plays, maybe he's playing 22. So he's got 8 weeks on me to make that YouTube content. But it's really good. Like, I've got to say, you got to be, as a player, he's the first one to really cross that divide, and it's I enjoy his content. Put it like that, I watch it.
Right. Well, you're talking about production value a second ago, and I was thinking about, is it a production team that you work with kind of to spice up those videos, like to make them glossier?
Well, this is I do the content, but I don't know how to do the marketing side of it. Yeah, and YouTube is all about those sound bites and the thumbnails and all that sort of stuff. And I wouldn't know it, and I certainly wouldn't have the inclination. I read a little bit about it, but no, I need a production team behind me when it comes to the actual YouTube stuff and putting out there and trying to get those clicks.
Yeah. So then do you send the video to them, or do they have something set up where you like upload it to a Dropbox or?
Well, at the moment, yeah, we do a production on a day, and then we then get it edited and sent, and then has to be produced down, and then they have to be cut, and then, to be honest, my manager is the one that does the final say on to make sure that it's all golf ready. So they're making it YouTube ready, and my manager makes sure it's golf ready, and that's for me. I want to just do it and let somebody else. I want to give the lesson, but I don't want to spend hours on production because, again, I still feel like I'm a player, and and I take the attitude, take it or leave it. Sometimes if you don't like what I'm saying or you don't like my content, there's plenty of other people to watch, and if you do, that's great. And that kind of came from the COVID time when I started doing these videos. I wasn't gonna, if I fumbled a word, got the wrong words, mispronounce it, whatever it was, use the wrong word in the wrong context, I'm not going to re-edit a video because, you try and do that. Doing a 2 minute video takes an hour. Whereas, if it became like that, I'd end up not doing it. So I'm going to do, all these are first takes. Every video I do, like, I might restart in the first 30 seconds if I got it wrong. But once I'm in that video for 2-3 minutes, I ain't going back to the start. So if I fumble at that stage, I'm just going to carry on like nothing happens.
Yeah, there's a great line from Clint Eastwood. He always said that, "Hey, you're getting just one take out of me, baby. I mean, this is me at my best, so that's it."
Well, I've done a few commercials, proper productions for different things, and I'd say my lines, and it's amazing. I've learned two things from it. Like you'd say your lines, you do it perfect, and the
Producer or
producer or not the director would turn around and say, "That's perfect. Let's do it again." And you go, "It's perfect." Why? But the other one that I always found phenomenal, when you work with professionals, they're so much more concerned about how they come across than I am. So if I say my line and it's maybe the diction isn't perfect, that's okay. I'm a professional golfer. I'm not an announcer. I'm not in that business. But the person on the other side who is makes a living out of being, in TV or something like that. It's amazing how many takes they want. They want to take 10 takes to get it absolutely how they want it. Whereas I'm go, it's fine. Just run with it.
right. Well, Harry, speaking of current events, real quick, shifting gears to, I know that you had talked about some of the PGA Tour rules that had come out. You had spoken with Eamon Lynch about it. But what are your overall, now they've been voted on and they're in place, what are your overall thoughts on them?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. It's obviously going to be slightly harder to keep your card going forward. I did the maths in my head. I think it's like 62% keep their card at the moment. It's going to be 50% this year, and then it's going to go to what was it? Like 59%. It's 4% harder anyway, going forward. So it's going to be much tougher. I think that's going to create the problem that they were trying to solve. So one of the problems they're trying to solve is give more starts to non-PGA Tour members, so players who are joining the tour, which is interesting that it's been a thing of the last 30 years on the European Tour, the US. They always want to give the non-members a better chance. We're very, very nice people to do that. Like when you consider it, there's not very many organizations that actually they want to give more starts to the people coming up rather than the people on the inside. But I think it's going to cause the problem that because there's less spots, players are going to play more, and if you play more events, it means you're squeezing the guys at the end out, and they'll end up getting less events. So for a player on the bubble, if he plays a tournament, it means one of his competitors doesn't play the tournament. So you can understand that it's incentivizing players to play more, which will reduce playing opportunities for those lower down the ranking. Now, so I think we're always going to have that problem. It's just one of these things. I do understand that the biggest solution to slow play is reducing the size of the field. We are literally playing golf in a traffic jam, and I continually see people commenting and moaning about pace of play, and there are issues. There's no doubt about it. But the biggest issue is traffic jam. So, like, I think probably the most known one of recent ones, the 2023 Masters on the second tee, there was a 20-minute delay. That couldn't have been slow play. It's a 20-minute delay because you got a par 5 followed by a drivable par 4. And remember, unfortunately, every person playing that first hole looks across and sees the delay on the second hole, and subconsciously that slows them down. The minute you see traffic in front of you, you're not going to drive fast up into it. You're just going to, subconsciously, you're just going to slow down. And that's what's happening. So, yes, less numbers will help that. But I will say, tournaments haven't done it in the past. So when we get to a Saturday and Sunday, they have less numbers and they have daylight. And they've never stretched out the tee times. So they could go to 12, 15-minute intervals, whatever, on a Saturday or Sunday, if they wanted to. They've never done that. And the reason being is the TV and the spectators at the event don't want gaps on the golf course. So everybody wants their nirvana of when the players put the flag into the hole and walk off the green, the spectators and the TV, maybe not as much TV, but certainly the spectators tournament, they want to see the next ball land on the green. So they want a beautiful flow that the next shot comes in immediately. And obviously, if they give 15-minute gaps, it will look like there's big gaps on the golf course. So there is a conflict here. As in, the spectators want to see this play being so continuous on top of each other. And obviously, if you do that with traffic control, we need a traffic engineer. to sort out slow play and the rules.
Okay.
But this is why you have road rage in real life. There's problems occur, and you can never be ahead of time. That's one of the things in golf. You just can't be ahead of time, and you can't make up time because it's full in front of you. So if that 20-minute delay on the second tee at the Masters couldn't be made up, it adds to the totality of time. If the time was 4:40, well, that 20 minutes means it's 5 hours. There's no way you can make up. As we've seen it, if you go into your sat nav going somewhere, if you get into a traffic jam, it just adds the 20 minutes on. You can't make it up. What's interesting about that, as I said, they haven't changed the tee time. Sometimes they put in starter gaps, which are really useful. So I would advocate that the first half of the field, like if not to tell Augusta what to do, but they should spread their early tee times out on the weekend because they're not winning the tournament, to make sure that there's as little delay as possible for the later groups when they get to that second tee box. But the only way they can do that is nearly to have 15-minute intervals for the first 10 groups or something like that, and then maybe a little, but they don't want to have 15 minutes for the last groups because, as I said, they want them playing on top of each other. What I will say, and if you remember Brooks, the reason I bring up the 2023 Masters is Brooks was in the last group and he was very frustrated with that delay of 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, that's not a slow play issue. It's a golf course issue in the terms of the flow of the course at that time. So he did the most genius golf move I have seen when it came to the PGA at Oak Hill. So again, he was very worried about pace of play, that he was going to play faster than the field and be held up a lot. And he slowed his group down by marking his tap-in putts. So every time he had a little putt, he marked it, walked away, let the other guy putt, then come back over and putt. That's, maybe it's 30 seconds, maybe it's, 45 seconds. But a fast player, the worst thing a fast player can do is play slowly. Just as for a slow player, it's really difficult for him to play fast. So they have to find different ways. So like a slow player can't just turn around and play fast. He's got to be ready. He's got to cut out some of the rubbish that goes on. He has to be a slow player has to be very aware. Always has to be aware of what he's doing because he wants to gather information. He can't play golf any other way. It's not like he can change. So he has to do it in a very timely, just awareness really is what you're talking about. But vice versa, a fast player, you can't slow a fast player down or he'll play terrible. That's his personality. And Brooks, genius. I've got to say, I was just so impressed that he just figured out that rather than standing at his ball for longer, a fast player has to go to the toilet 3 or 4 more times on the round. He has to wander. He can't walk slowly because that's not his personality either. He has to do things, add things in to slow his group down so that he's not waiting all the time.
Got to fill that time somehow. Well, another thing, cuts though too. Like there's less events with cuts. There's much less Monday qualifiers. I know those are some things that you're very passionate about, right?
I would have preferred, even if they reduced the size of the fields, which they believe is necessary. I do think it's just going to cause the same problem again, as in everybody's going to squeeze in more events, and that again will reduce the starts that they're trying to solve. But if they're going to go to reduced fields for timing, and remember, reduced fields helps guarantee the better players stay in the event on the weekend. So obviously on a no-cut event, like Liv have a huge advantage that they're nearly guaranteed their top players are going to be in contention on a Sunday.
You turn on marketing,
It's if you watch the Champions Tour, and we should be used as a completely as the guinea pig for everything. If they want to test something on the tour, like they do in the hockey, don't they drop down to the lower league and say, right, we've got a new rule, you try this. The Champions Tour, we should be the guinea pigs. But if you turn into the Champions Tour, I guarantee you'll know 6 of the top 10 names on that leaderboard, as in they'll be household. Liv have that advantage too. By reducing the fields on the tour, especially those no-cut events, it does help with guaranteeing that your names are going to be there and up there. I would have preferred, and this is, I would have preferred if those 30 people who are going to lose their tour status could have been educated that, yes, you can keep your status, but you're not going to get very many starts. And the reason being is those 30 people are going to lose sponsorship, tour benefits, and confidence by losing their card. By just
Yeah,
naming them as members of the tour, automatically they get
gives a
sponsorship.
platform.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a different sponsorship. Manufacturers pay this for a tour member. They don't pay it for a Corn Ferry tour member. It makes a difference to their confidence, and obviously tour benefits. There's other benefits as well. So I prefer if they kept it at the larger number. But I have said this: be careful what you want. The people who are screaming the most about not getting the starts, the people who are screaming about finishing in the dark or warming up in the dark, are those 30 people who are losing their card. Those people are the ones who were shouting the loudest about how unfair it was, and the tour sorted the problem out. They gave them no starts, so they won't finish in the dark anymore. So be careful what you want. I think in hindsight, all those 30 people and the people who are going to be in that, it's probably 60, 70 players at any time who are going to be vying for those positions. I think in hindsight they would go, you know what, I don't mind finishing on a Saturday morning once in a while. And this idea that, we can't make a timesheet, that's complete rubbish. I could always figure out my tee time for a Saturday. And the tour could easily post a provisional timesheet based on what it is, and maybe 2 timesheets. This is if the extra 20 guys qualify. And those 20 guys go at the start of play. They don't go at the end of play. It makes no difference what it is. They could easily post a provisional timesheet on a Friday evening, even without play being finished for Saturday. So that is just the silliest thing ever to say, there's no clarity for Saturday. The sponsors want to know who's playing in the last group. We know exactly. We know, and a provisional sheet could have been produced. So that one, that doesn't hold any sway with me at all. So there's no doubt the problem of slow pay is a big issue. But I don't think this is going to solve it might solve that problem, and hopefully it will, but I don't think it's going to solve the other problems.
The provisional sheet, is that something that could be implemented relatively soon, do you think? I mean, like what would
They're not going to
allow
do
that
it.
to happen?
Well, I don't know. Why they just don't, like, it's so easy. I can work out my tee time every Friday evening, even if play hasn't finished. I just look at it and go, well, I'm 22nd here. That means that and you get told we're going in 3 balls. That means I'm the 8th group out. There's 7 3-balls and I'm the next one. Remember, the tee times always start from the leaders and work back. So they're not likely to change as much as the cut line. So if an extra 20 players get in or don't get in, they're the ones starting at 7 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning. And you can predict that yourself. So it's very easy to do a provisional tee time. And players are told it's a provisional tee time. There you go. It's provisional. Be aware that this could change. And it won't change
Not
by
set
much.
in stone.
Yeah, but it's not going
Right.
to change by much. As I said, I would never get my tee time wrong. If I got it wrong by 10 minutes, that's it. So it's easy to work out, and I wouldn't get it wrong. It would change by 10 minutes. Of course, I wouldn't get it wrong, but it's easy to work out. So so provisional times, extra play. I don't know if that's going to work out. Shorter fields are good for tournaments. Shorter fields are good for the TV. Shorter fields are good for pace of play. But I still would have said, why not just tell the extra 30 players you're still tour members, and just, it's bookkeeping. All I'm doing is the accountant to me saying, hey, look, if we switch this around here and say that they're tour members, but you know what, you're only getting 6 starts in this category, but you're still a tour member, it would help them with their confidence, with their, and who doesn't want to say, well, I was a member of the tour for 10 straight years, instead of saying, well, I was a member of the tour for 3 years, off for 3, back for, so I just don't see why we couldn't have just kept them named in there, because it would be more profitable for them to be called a tour member than not.
For the individual to have those advantages.
Yeah, those 30 guys, there's tour benefits, there's individual sponsorship benefits, and there's the confidence and continuity benefit of continuing to be a member of the tour. So I just wouldn't have cut them. And I know I'm not saying they get starts, and as I said, they are the ones who complain the most when they, I'm a member of the tour and I only got to play 6 times. Well, the tour has sorted it out. You're no longer a member of the tour and you'll play 0 times. Or actually, they'll no longer be a member of the tour. They still will get the same starts. As in, if it goes
Just
through the
without
field,
status.
Yeah, just without the
Yeah.
status. So if the, let's say, if the 180th ranked player, or the player who, say these 30 players, if the fifth one in that category is going to get 8 starts as a tour member, he'll get 8 starts as a non-tour member as well. It's just,
Hmm.
it does, when the field is full or not full, it goes down into whoever's next available in different sequence. So it won't change how many times they play, but it would be nice to be called a tour member just purely for their own financial benefit and confidence. It's
Right.
just one of those things.
Yeah. Well, another current event, obviously, that's been talked about a lot recently is Ryder Cup year we're coming into. Obviously, the pay for play topic. Where are you at with that?
What, the price of the tickets, or the
Sorry, being paid to play for
Oh
the
yeah,
players.
God, yeah. I think it was a 400 grand is an awful lot of money. I'm not doubting that, but for these guys, it was very poor PR for that. You know, for 400,000, they don't need it, and they're getting terrible PR. So why would they do it? If they were responsible, not that they're not responsible, if they wanted to do something, they should have asked, well, we'd like to have a member maybe have a say in where the money goes. We'd like to see where the money goes. Now, the fact of the matter is, I wouldn't know the full ins and outs, but the tour have taken over, have joined with the PGA of America. I believe that the tour gets 11 million or something from the thing. So the players are getting paid, just like in Europe. The money is going to run,
Mhm.
the tour and help the tour behind the scenes. So the 400 grand is just for that much bad publicity. And as I said, you only have to go back and ask Mark O'Meara. He wasn't the only one, but for some reason he became the front of, in '99 we should get paid, and after that they got 200 grand for charity or something like that. But he would tell you it was not worth it. I guarantee you, if you asked him, he would say no. He did not like, the bad publicity he got from maybe fronting an argument that needed to be had. Hey, what are you doing with this money that we're helping you raise? And that's more pertinent than we need some of it, because it's not
Hmm.
enough money for them. If they were turning around and, as I said, they were getting life changing money out of it, or maybe they just needed to have a, hey, look, where's this going? And as it turned out, it's going to the PGA Tour anyway. I said, it's 10, 11 million, something like that goes to the PGA Tour. So they are getting a share of the cut of the spoils. Like I know in Europe, when I started out, we paid 2.5% of our prize money as an administrative fee every week. The Ryder Cup means we don't pay that anymore. The Ryder Cup pays for the administration of the European Tour now. So,
Hmm.
clearly every player in Europe benefits from the Ryder Cup. So we have a little bit more visuals of what's happening to the money in Europe, and we know where it's going, and we obviously receive a fair share of it. And in the States, I think that visual would have been the right way to go, rather than saying we actually want a cut of it. It was bad PR.
Mm. Well, speaking of the DP World Tour that you mentioned there just a minute ago, obviously Sergio Garcia is going to pay his fines and serve his suspensions, and wants to be a part of that Ryder Cup team. It sounds like. Well, what do you make of that? Obviously, a very passionate player.
Yeah, I'm delighted that the guys are back, and I'd like to see Poulter and Lee back as well. These are future captains. Sergio played well last year, so he, in his head, he's a future player too, and there's nothing stopping him, and I think that's why he's signed up. But in terms of captaincies, I'd like to see these guys back for sure. And I think there's an unknown in this as well. I don't know if they've done this strategically, but if we keep the live players out of the Ryder Cup, there's a chance that there could be a match started live against the PGA Tour. And that would undermine the Ryder Cup. Like if somebody came in and said, I've got 100 million, 10 guys from live, 10 guys from PGA Tour. And remember, they're obviously having a 2-man match, a 4-man match coming up. So you're allowed to have
Oh,
these
that's right.
matches.
The
So
showdown, yeah.
so if somebody comes, what if the next showdown was 10v10, 100 million first place to the winning team? Do you think you wouldn't get 20 players turning up for a chance of winning 10 million first place? And that would undermine the Ryder Cup going down the road. I know the Ryder Cup has tradition, but we don't know where things go. So that would undermine it. Whereas letting the live players back in, now I don't think they've done this. Maybe I don't know. Hopefully they've seen that that's the idea. If you let the live players back into the Ryder Cup, there isn't an appetite to find a different match. If you know what I mean, they have their
Yeah.
match.
Well, it's interesting you say that because Ian Poulter mentioned in an interview yesterday with SI that he doesn't plan on paying back his fines. Like he doesn't that's not something he's looking at all right now. So
Yeah,
maybe it
if
goes
it's
to your point a little bit.
yeah, well, I'd worry about. I've said it before when Live started straight away that it would get a lot of eyeballs a Live match against everybody else, whether it's PGA Tour or the European Tour. They're 10 best against the 10 best others. That would get a lot of rivalry and a lot of people tune in. And remember, people love to tune in when they hate a team. They don't always tune in, when they have sides. So it's not, so to make sure that doesn't happen, I think we need to make sure the Live players are playing in the Ryder Cup. That's a strategic benefit of allowing them back. Like some people might say, we don't want them back. But I said, if we keep them on the outside, then we can't use them. They can't be part of our environment, and we need them. They've got a lot of personalities, and I would worry, as I said, for the Ryder Cup. And this is not personal in the sense of, I love the Ryder Cup, and I want the Ryder Cup to be the number one thing, and I want it to be tradition. It's not a personal thing. I'm looking at this. What if, because of the match being allowed and there being a Live versus PGA Tour match, what if they extend that to 10 players or 12 players in a 3-day match? And put up huge money? I can guarantee you that would have when they play. Can you imagine the animosity when you'd have those two teams going at each other, and that would just draw a lot of viewers. So and we don't want an alternative to the Ryder Cup. The likes of the President's Cup has never taken off as a real contender against the Ryder Cup because they don't have animosity. There's not as much them against us, whereas we've had that with Europe and the US. And you would certainly have it with Live and the PGA Tour or some version of the PGA Tour. So, yeah, let's make sure the Ryder Cup is as strong as it can be so that we don't need an alternative.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap up here, I know you only got a couple more minutes here, but I just wanted to say this is something I'm very passionate about. I'm of Irish descent, so I've been lucky to play golf in Ireland in the past. But for Americans that you come across at country clubs, at tournaments, at regular golf courses, what is your encouragement to these players who are these weekend golfers who've never been to Ireland, haven't played?
Why wait? I can never understand why you wait. You've got to go now. Enjoy it now. People, I know it's a bucket list trip, but you're going to enjoy it the younger you are. And the great thing about Ireland is we have a lot of options. We a lot of people kind of think we're one-dimensional in our golf trips. We have a lot of options. If you went to the southwest of Ireland, you would get a completely different experience there than if you went to Dublin. Like Dublin's a city. You can be in Dublin and not be a tourist. If you want to be a tourist, you can be a tourist. But you can be in a big city and not be a tourist and play some of the best golf courses. Great hotels, restaurants. You go south of Ireland, and it is just full-on tourism. You're going to be treated 5-star the whole way, but everybody knows you're a tourist. The golf courses are fabulous. They'll nearly roll out a leprechaun with a pot of gold for you. It's fabulous in that environment. And then you can go to the northwest of Ireland, and that's as rugged as it gets. That's more, I think, what people would imagine. You go all the way up the Great Atlantic Way, all the way up to the northwest of Ireland. It's unspoiled, great surfing country. It's much more. Their tourism is there, but it's much, take it or leave it sort of tourism. They're not as, it's great that you're here, but you do your thing, we're doing our thing. It's a much. They're different experiences, completely different. And then you can go right around the top. You go up to Northern Ireland, and the great thing with Northern Ireland, they love their tourists from Northern Ireland. It's. I don't know if this goes back to the troubles. They love visitors. Anybody who comes to them, they because they had years that people thought that it was that you couldn't visit. Anybody who comes there, they're so welcoming. Great golf courses. So you've a lot of great experiences. The one thing I recommend: don't think you can drive in Ireland in the sense of you can get from Dublin out to everywhere 2-3 hours pretty quickly. But once you get on the small roads, You know, if you see that there's 100 miles between two golf courses and you think you're going to cover that in an hour and a half, it ain't going to happen. So the two things are, you're better off staying in a base and leaving that base and playing the golf courses in that area. Or if you do decide to travel from place to place, you've got to hire a driver. You know, if you've got a group of guys, get a guy. And to be honest, these drivers are the entertainment for the week. They have all the stories. They know everything going on. Hire a driver. And that way you can go finish up your round of golf, go in, have your evening meal, have a couple of beers, get in a nice minibus, go to the next place, go to sleep, get up, play your golf. So don't that's what I would say. Don't think, you know, trying to put for you in a hire car in Ireland and somebody drive, it spoils their day. It spoils all your day. So that would be my recommendations. Stay in one place and play the golf courses in that area. And if you are moving places, make sure you get somebody to drive you so that you can enjoy the full experience without worrying about, you know, it just takes a long time to get places in Ireland.
But we can't say the man is not passionate about sport in his Ireland, about golf in his Ireland. So
we're to be honest, we're very good that way in Ireland. We love our visitors. I think we're inquisitive, maybe nosy. So, you know, if you turn up in Ireland, we'll find something out about you, and we'll be related to you. If you've got an Ireland, we'll know somebody. You know, you go into a pub randomly, people will talk to you. You know, you stay in a B&B. I often equate, if you stayed in a B&B, I know there's less and less of these, but you know, you come in from your golf, you've eaten, you've had a few pints, and you come in at 11 o'clock at night. You know, you're tired. The lady at the house will want to make you tea and sandwiches. Like at 11 o'clock at night, she literally
hospitality.
She wants because she's nosy. She wants to talk to you. She wants to ask you who you know, why you're here.
That's why the tabloids are so big. That's why the tabloids are so big in that part of the world. I know you're up. You're so passionate, but I know you're up against a hard break here, so I appreciate the time. Yeah. Thanks for it, Paddy, and great to catch up with you again.
Thanks a lot, Garrett. Good luck with it.